All right, fans, back with us today. He is an E's and B's veteran, the man we now call Mr. Fourth Time, and birthday boy today from Indianapolis, Indiana, the baddest outlaw figure eight race car driver on the planet, number 5, Dan Tunney. What's up, my man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having us back.
Absolutely, champ. Great to have you back. Obviously, we're getting you back here on this very special day, the big birthday for the champ today. And also, we're going to be diving into the big, exciting race that happened just last Saturday. Ben, are you ready to get into it today?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's go.
Awesome. Hey, man, tell my fans and listeners out there what it was like leading up to Saturday night. So kind of like your preparation, the things that you go through on a normal 3-hour race weekend.
Well, the last race we run is a 1 hour figure eight for the speedrome. And we used to run that on Labor Day weekend, which was on a Sunday. We'd run a 50 lap race on a Saturday night and have a normal program where we used to run oval and figure eight all the same night. Then we'd run the next day on Sunday of Labor Day weekend and have our 1 hour figure eight. And then Monday, everyone was off work for Labor Day, but we'd all thrash on the race cars and hurry to get stuff done while everybody was off work. But we only had like 4 days to get done. Well, now they moved the 1 hour race up a week. So now you have a whole uh, a whole nother week to get ready, but it still feels like you're out of time all the time. So what we had tried to do this time is we tried to get tubing and sheet metal a couple weeks ahead, and I already went ahead and made like my front and back bumpers and already bent the tubing because we have to build all that stuff ourselves and weld it together and fabricate it. And we tried to get a head start and cut body panels and have stuff ready to go and order all the stuff we're going to need, like oil and spark plugs and brake pads and stuff like that. And then when it came down to that week, luckily from the 1 hour, we didn't have much damage. So we just had to go through and start tearing things down a little bit. We will usually start on the day after the 1 hour was a Sunday this year. And we jacked it up. We took the body off. We figured out what bumpers we were replacing and which ones we weren't. And we cut everything off and did all the grinding. And then we go through and we drain all the fluids and greased all the hub bearings and stuff like that. And then once we got done with all the fab work, like the body, the tubing and bumpers, the welding, the painting, and we had to put new decal graphics on. We spent a lot of time going back and forth. Feels like you run errands nonstop, picking up things when you're leading up to a 3 hour, picking up something that you're needing or didn't have. And it's constant, just run, run, run. And then, then you finally start getting close, and then you're trying to catch up on stuff you skipped over and make sure you check over all the bolts and nuts on the car and set it up real good, mount tires. We get out a different type of wheel for a 3 hour. We go from a 10-inch wheel to a 12. So we dig them out, and we sometimes have to dismount tires off of them and clean those wheels up and polish them or get them painted black or whatever. There's all kinds of little things we do. We went and got fuel. We bought a whole barrel of fuel, had to pick that up and pump it out into jugs. We got spare lug nuts because of our pit stops. So you actually glue the lug nuts to the wheels and get prepared for your pit stops. We took that. We had a bunch of old ones from years before. We soak them in gas or lacquer thinner and get them clean. And then I wire brushed all of them. And then I taped them off and painted the face of them bright yellow so you could see them real good in the pit stop at night. So we cleaned all them up, painted those, got them all ready for pit stop. Make sure your jacks and impacts are working good and your trailer's organized, spare parts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I know I'm rambling on about a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that's all the stuff we did is that kind of thing.
Yeah, and see, that's why I asked, because a lot of my fans and listeners out there don't really realize that it's just not a plug and play kind of thing. This 3
Yeah.
hours is a serious race. It's a race that you really got to prepare for. And you got to expect the unexpected, you know, the part failures and all that stuff. You got to be ready for it. You can't just come off a regular Saturday night race and expect to run 3 hours the next week. And I just wanted my fans out there to know, you know, what goes into getting ready for the biggest race, in my opinion, of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Ben, we know this as we spoke or you talked there. We were coming off of the 1 hour into the 3 hour weekend last Saturday. I got to ask you, winning the 1 hour race, did that momentum help you out in your mindset going into last Saturday?
Maybe involuntarily it did. I didn't really feel it directly, but I think it helped the whole team's momentum and confidence a bit. It didn't help me as much as it may have, just because every race that I've won this year, most of the top dog competition that was racing for the win with me either wasn't there or had trouble mechanically or a crash. I didn't actually race it out with somebody for the finish. So I felt like somewhat lucked into some of it, but I also knew that we were fast and qualifying good, and we were in the front, you know, in the hunt regardless. So it wasn't like we were running fifth and the whole field crashed out and stuff. We were right there in the mix, but it still wasn't the same as just truly, you know, the whole field raced it out and we just beat them. There was things that happened and went against them and went, you know, in our favor. So that didn't help my confidence as much, because I was just thinking, well, if they didn't have this trouble or if this guy didn't have that happen, we might have won. And, you know, my crew has to help me not think that way. And they say, oh, you know, you would have been fine. You had it regardless. You were just taking your time and stuff like that. But I always think the negative side of things for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. You know, I read a few of your posts there on the social media networks and stuff. And I think you're a little hard on yourself. That's just my opinion. You know, I do understand where you're coming from, being that you want to race the best to beat the best. And that's totally understandable. But I think you got to give yourself a little bit more credit, Ben, than what you've been giving yourself, because no matter what, it takes a talented person to do what you're doing, especially for an hour straight, and then flip around a couple of weeks later and do it for 3 more hours. Buddy, that's why I call you the baddest outlaw figure eight racer on the planet. Now, let me ask you this, Ben. We know wrecking and part failure is a big issue when it comes to these long 3 hour races. Other than that, what's your other biggest worry?
Let's see. Oh, the next biggest thing when you're not worrying about your car breaking or you messing up or crashing is just not being fast enough, worrying about missing the setup, worrying about your car going away after 50 laps or something. So you're worried about, how am I going to make this thing fast enough to be good enough to qualify good, race the race well up front in traffic, and maintain for hundreds of laps at a time without fading to the point of not being able to stay up front. And then on top of that, like, how do I not hit nothing, or how do I avoid from getting hit? And then doing your part in the shop, making sure your car is maintenance and taken care of and prepared to cover all those bases as much as you can. And then you're worried about, like the 3 hour, you're worried about your pit stop going well, because that can make or break your race right there with one mistake. And so then you're worried about everybody in the team doing their job when you don't get to do that kind of thing on a regular basis. So, and also you have different help there that's not normally there on a weekly show. You got people there that's not really that familiar with each other or the car, trying to jump in and give you a hand, and you're just wondering what's going to cost you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I do want to touch on a little something else that I gotta say that was pretty awesome there last Saturday, and that's kind of something that we've been touching on here. We had a good friend, and he's in Bees veteran, one of your good buddies, that did not make the top 20 when it comes to locked in. Now, he was the 21st fastest driver, we should say, the fastest on the second day, but this man drove from 21st to come up runner up behind you in second, and none other than the 87 machine of Matt Smith. What can you say about that awesome run Matt put in there Saturday night?
Oh, he did a great job because it's tough when you're starting anywhere. I would say outside the top 10 back there in that mess of cars, it throws you off as far as rhythm and trying to get your race going, I guess. And you're immediately having to brake for the faster leaders up front when you're held up in traffic. And to survive that part and make it that far is a feat in itself. And then their crew did a great job when we all pitted on the red flag. They beat us out of the pits. They beat me and Mark, and he was at the front of towards the front of the line. Actually, no, he beat me, but not Mark. But they did a great job in the pits. He did a great job surviving in the race and being fast and keeping up a steady pace. Like even when the race was coming to an end, he was only one lap down, I believe, when he crashed at the very end. So he ran a fast pace and did good. And for him being still fairly new to racing, actually driving, I mean, he done a good job. You know, he's done good in every 3 hour he's ran. He's run a top 5, and that's tough. Like just finishing the last 3 years, I haven't been able to do more than 50 laps without crashing. And he's finished almost all the ones he's ran except for like one, and he's done a good job. And they worked on their car real hard Saturday, making a bunch of changes after the qualifying kind of hurt him on Friday. And he got the car where he put down a good lap Saturday, and his car was running real good in the race. And I can't say nothing bad about that as a driver or team. They did a really good job, and I'm proud of him because he worked with me for so long, helping on my race car with me and my dad and my brothers. And you know, he's learned a lot from us and my dad, and as almost like a brother. So I'm proud that he was able to take what he's learned with us and through other racers that he's worked with through over the years, that he's been able to put it to good use and be a good racer.
Absolutely. And I think you can agree with me. It's just a matter of time before he gets that thing in the winner's circle. He's been knocking on that door, and yeah, he's on that path. I can't wait to see him in that winner's circle.
Yeah, him and a few others are real close to being first winners. I think if that he would be a definite possibility. You know, Jeff Harmon was right there this year, and in 2017, the year Hadley won, he was right there for a while. You know, they're close. And Jeffrey Shackelford, he was up front a lot, and he just showed up and ran that one race out of nowhere and was right up front. Those guys, I think in the next 5 to 10 years could win once or more than once before that time's up, just because the pure talent that they had to be competitive and run like that up front without getting into much trouble and at the pace they ran it at. There's going to be some new winners soon. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Hey, let's switch gears up a little bit here, Ben. As we all know, you were on the E's and B's podcast not too long ago, and I had to ask you, you know, if you could be anything else other than a race car driver, what could you be? And the famous answer was the weatherman.
Yeah.
Well, dipping back into that little substance there, the weatherman, I got to know this. If the chance arised, would you take the opportunity to race up there in Ohio at Painesville Speedway on the wet figure 8 track?
Probably not. We've run on the wet tracks here before. It's not too much fun on our slicks. They run it in Washington out there where Chris Curtis and Cowboy John Carlson run. They run in the rain, downpour, whatever. And then like Painesville, they wet the track down, but we practiced on a wet track and had to start races with it still, you know, soaking wet, running through puddles and stuff like that. And it's always terrible. You can't turn, just go straight. It'd be like you going out in your car and trying to maneuver through a cul-de-sac or a neighborhood as fast as you can with a sheet of ice on the road. That's about what it feels like. You can't stop, you can't take off, you can't turn. There's no grip. So basically you go really slow, and it makes it really hard to pass. And that track's narrow and skinny enough as it is that I don't think nobody would want to drive there 4 hours away or so to do that because they already hate it when it does it here. They want to cancel it. half the time if it's wet and they can't get the track dry, people start saying, well, let's just call it off and come back tomorrow.
Gotcha. Definitely. I was just curious, just being that, that's one of their famous things up in Painesville. I think it's very entertaining. I don't know if I would want to see the outlaw cars out there, because that's a lot of money to be risking, but I think it definitely
I watched that race. It was pretty good when we were up there. They wet it down. I don't know how they go so fast.
I don't either.
Tires,
yeah.
I don't know what tires they're on, but they're going pretty fast for how wet it was.
Yeah. Well, speaking of tires, Ben, we all know that the tires change. We've been talking about it all year long here on the E's and B's. But for this last Saturday, do you like the smaller tire or the bigger tire for the 3 hour?
I have been saying that I wish we just ran the smaller one on the 3 hour for a while. And, people will say that I run on them all year long, so I get lots of practice on them. So of course I'm going to like them, or since I won the race, that of course I'm going to like them. But I truly believe, regardless of how well I would have finished, that I would say the same thing, that I thought the racing and the race itself was way better on the little tires. It slows us down to a point where when you watch it on TV or in person, you can't really tell that we're slower. But in the car and on the stopwatch, we're about a second to a second and a half slower every lap. And that little bit is just enough to slow it down. When you see things in front of you, you have time to react just a little faster. And I think it took a little bit of the performance advantages away from teams that have a really, really fast cars with really good, strong engines. They can take advantage of that better on a big tire. Also, the guys that the cars don't handle very well, when you put them on a real good tire and they give all that grip to them, then their cars feel great all of a sudden. And then it makes everybody's car feel great. And it makes the passing less, the passing harder, the speeds higher. So then when you crash, like you probably noticed when they crashed in years past, it just annihilated the cars, had to be pulled off on flatbeds. This year, I've seen people, not every time, but a few times, they'd hit at the crossover lightly, kind of bounce off each other and spin out, and they would just keep going. And they might have just bent a tie rod or something a little lightly and come in and go right back out. Whereas before, they would have hit and probably destroyed the car, knocked the radiator out of it. Well, a lot of that is just the grip of the tire and the speed, because if you're going really fast and you have a lot of grip and the car hits each other, that next car that you hit digs in the ground and that tire holds it better. So it's kind of like if you had cleats on and you're playing football, you can push and you can hit a lot harder. But if you just slide in the grass, you're not going to give as good a hit because you're scooting. And I think that the slower speeds with the slicker, less grippy tires caused the cars to last longer and more passing, and the racing just overall better. I thought the tires didn't fall off as much. People kept saying they thought we were going to have to pit more, and I thought we could have pit less. When I pitted, I probably could have kept the same tires on and just put fuel in, but you're already in the pits anyway, so you might as well get tires while you're in there getting fuel. But I honestly thought it was better, and I heard a lot of people say the same thing. I hardly heard anybody say that the race was worse because of it. I heard a lot of compliments.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed it. Like you said, I think it made the racing a lot better. Even in the back of the pack, it was still competitive. It just felt like there was more cars on track at the end of 3 hour this year than most. I really think that makes it a lot more exciting for us fans, and I really hope they kind of keep in that path going forward. Well, Ben, we're not going to keep you much longer here. I just got a couple left for you. We're going to let you get to the birthday celebration. Make sure you folks, if you're out there and you come across old Ben Tunney today, you wish him a happy birthday. But lastly, Ben, I got to know this, man. What is the most special birthday present you could ask for?
Hold on a second. I can't hear you right now. Sorry. I don't know what happened. Trying to see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, Ben, I asked you, what would be the best, most specialist birthday present you could get today for your birthday?
Birthday present. Oh. Well, if there was no money and as worried about, it, I'd like one of them new figure eight legends. Those would be fun.
Yeah,
I'd probably
me
smile
too.
if I saw one of them sitting there. I'd probably smile pretty good. Let's see what else would be something small that I could get. Oh, I don't know. Trying to think. I don't like too much except for racing stuff, so it's hard to think of anything. If somebody brought me some ice cream, I'd probably always smile for some snacks.
Awesome.
If they brought me some kind of ice cream and said happy birthday, I'd probably smile and eat that thing. I'd be happy. But if I was really getting anything I wanted, I'd probably take one of them legends or a dirt late model so I could go play other tracks when Speedrome decides that they can't race figure eight that day. I could go run dirt.
I could agree with you, definitely.
I like to run every race. If I could run every division and every race all over, I'd try to if I could, but I just don't have the money or time.
You and me,
That'd
both,
be
buddy.
fun.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
I'd love to travel the U.S. racing week in, week out.
Oh God,
That's all you're doing.
I wish our figure eight turned into Lucas Oil Dirt Series, like how they travel everywhere through the country, run Wednesday to Sunday at different tracks, and they're on MAV TV day to day.
Yeah,
That's what I wish we did. But every time I see them, I just think, well, that must be nice. They just race every day.
Yes.
I always wonder when they're ever home to do laundry or get a shower or how they work to make money to pay for it. But I wish I figured it out because that's what I'd be doing too.
Yes,
Looks fun.
Amen on that. Well, with that, my man, it's been an honor and a pleasure having you on. We want to congratulate you one more time on that huge 3-hour win last Saturday night. And we cannot wait to have you back here in the future. And good luck for the rest of this 2021 season. We'll be keeping an eye out for you. Man, you're one of the most honest, respectful, nice, loving, caring people we've ever had here on the E's and B's. And we hope you never change. And we hope you get to come back very, very soon, Ben. Thank you so much for all you do for us, folks. Make sure you check him out at the Indianapolis Speedrome. It's Mr. Fourth Time, the baddest outlaw figure eight racer on the planet. Number 5, Ben Turney.
Thank you guys for having me. I don't plan to change. I look forward to seeing anybody out there following us, and it's been great. Thank you.
Man, thank you so much, Ben. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you. Bye.